Hello, welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast presented by DraftKings, America's #1 and top-rated sportsbook. Use code CHGO when you sign up. I'm very excited to welcome you into Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm Sean Anderson, the host of CHGO White Sox podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. With me is the full CHGO White Sox crew. We got Vinnie Duber in the Bulls hat. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox, I was going to say Bulls beat writer, White Sox beat writer. You covered a lot of basketball in your career?
Never covered NBA basketball. Covered a lot of college basketball, but yeah, no.
Big Ten hoops?
Yeah, a lot of Big Ten hoops.
Very nice.
Lot of hours spent at the Big Ten tournament in the bowels of the United Center.
And Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
He is our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. That's the big news around CHGO is we had a basketball player dribbling a basketball on our roof, because where else? Ayo DeSumo, now the latest CHGO brand ambassador for our brand, and we are very, very excited because not only is he Southside, but also we have new hoodies. So, he's going to get a sick hoodie.
Yeah, I'm sure he's excited for that very reason. Yeah.
I mean, we're excited because, NBA player, Chicago's own, starting point guard for the Bulls. You're wearing the hat.
A Illini guy.
A Illini guy. I mean, he
Southside guy.
He should be excited about the hoodies.
He's probably going to get one of them Southside Bias shirts, I bet.
And, there's pictures. I mean, not only in 2020, but in 2021, you got Ayo throwing out the first pitch at White Sox games in an 83 throwback and in the black and white pinstripe. So I am all for this brand ambassador announcement here.
And I know it's not part of his deal, but apparently, one of these days when the Bulls are not playing and some downtime, pull up a seat, Ayo. Talk some White Sox baseball. Come on now.
I mean, are you that busy in the offseason?
What are you doing?
He said he's getting 1% better each and every day. I mean, that probably takes like 2 hours, and then you.
Well, you only need 100 days then.
Right. Exactly.
The other 265, you're free.
And he's saying you got to get 1% better in every game. You're playing 82 games, so it's like you could really knock that down to 18%. So there you go. I mean, 18 days he has to work.
We're nothing if not math geniuses.
Yes, we are. But you mentioned Southside, and I do think we just got to give a shout out to Jake who produced the video, because I think it was very cool seeing the dribbling and then seeing all the courts that flashed down him. I was talking to Jake about it, and you can kind of see the glimpses in the background of Assembly Hall. You can see the Champaign Arena, and then you can
also State Farm Center.
It's come on. It's
so sorry.
It's branded now.
I'm
they
so
sold
sorry
out.
that
U of I sold out
big time.
Well, then you see the Chicago Stadium as well.
No, stop it.
It's
United Center. It was never.
Those
really
are different buildings,
okay,
even,
sorry.
Sean. Come on.
That was always United Center.
That happened before I was born. But anyways, you see United Center, you see the State Farm Center, you see Morgan Park High School as well, but then you also see Metcalf Park, where Ayo has a tattoo on his arm of Darius Brown, his late friend, who was shot at Metcalf Park. So, I mean, he's very, very connected to the city, and I think it was just very cool for Jake to tie in all of those parts of his Illinois background, his Chicago background. So very, very excited for this announcement for CHGO.
And Ayo has expressed want to do what we do in the media after his playing career. So he's just trying to get ready. And I think many people have told him what the thing is reps. Get enough reps under your belt. He'll probably, by the time he retires, he'll be way too good for us. He'll be like, who are those guys again? Who's CHGO? He'll be up in the national hemispheres doing NBA games up there. But, get your reps in. And I hope you'll be getting reps in on CHGO White Sox, talking about the White Sox, talking about Josh Harrison, maybe Elvis Andrus. Is he still here?
You're just trying to lure him down, throwing up the Ayo symbol instead of the bat signal?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, what else has he got to do today on opening day of Chicago Bulls season? Which I'm wearing now, so a dark Chicago Bulls hat.
I didn't even realize
Sean didn't get the memo on the Bulls hats. Herb didn't get the memo on the red hats. We are all wearing black shirts.
You didn't get the memo on the CHGO shirt.
Yeah, but it's party time. It's excellent.
It is excellent, friends.
Well, and it's the good land, Milwaukee. Is that the best line from that movie?
No, Spew Into This is my favorite.
I love also the ads that they're doing where they're like, oh, we're not selling outs while we're selling out.
Yeah.
That's fun. You a big Wayne's World guy?
Oh, it's a great movie. It was a perfect time. I think I was in high school when Wayne's World came out. It was good times, yeah.
You saw that bad boy in the theaters, didn't you?
Excellent. Yeah, I did. Probably saw it at Bloomingdale or Stratford Square.
Ooh, Stratford Square.
Long time ago.
I was -5 when that movie came out. So shout out.
We need to start playing a Sean. We need our viewers to start playing a drinking game where every time Sean
mentions that I'm young.
crowbars in how young he is compared to everybody else, you have to take a shot, or maybe just come down and punch Sean in the shoulder or something.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Take a shot.
What up, D? What up, Samuel?
Yeah, what's up, D Bell? And Samuel's saying C+. We are giving report cards out to Elvis Andrews, so I'm not sure if he's giving
D Bell, by the way, works at the Sox Park. My guy.
Oh, shout out! You forget you always mention this.
Yeah. Every time I see him, you got to shout him out. Yeah,
he's probably missing the park just as much as you are. But we got Samuel Martin saying C+. We're giving out grades to Elvis Andrus today. I don't know if that's the reaction to the title, but I think that's the last grade that Elvis Andrus is going to get. Is anything below a B? I mean, I don't want to get too much into the grades here, but very shocked that seeing C+ here for Elvis Andrus, because he was the best part of the White Sox from August to the end of the season.
Maybe Samuel's grading with the Oakland A's stuff attached to it. When I get into this grading, I went with strictly the White Sox 2022 season for Elvis Andrus and the rest of the players on this roster. So I will not be grading him on a Oakland A's scale at all.
You were doing White Sox only, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
I think it's very important. I think we're going to talk about this, but I mean, I think it's very important to realize that what do we talk about in all of these? You're kind of grading on these weird curves based on expectations and all that kind of thing. Elvis Andrus is probably going to be very graded very well compared to all his teammates and what they were all doing at the time that he joined. I mean, I think everybody would kind of agree that his presence was a welcome one and a refreshing one at the time, and he did the kind of thing that the White Sox were looking for from everybody else for the many months prior that they didn't see. And so I think by comparison, Elvis might get a little better grade than maybe his actual numbers say he deserved, which I'm sure you're going to break down in great detail, Sean.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later on. Samuel Martin saying those last 2 weeks, but he still had 3 home runs. And again, for the White Sox, that was a lot.
9 homers in 43 games.
It's insane.
Yeah.
He hit as many home runs. If you take the 8 that he hit in many more games with Oakland, he had as many home runs as White Sox team leader Andrew Vaughn.
Right, which is crazy. I mean, if you ask me who would have more home runs, Elvis Andrus or the White Sox leader, I wouldn't think it would be tie.
I would say that the 2 most consistently powerful White Sox over the number of games they actually played with the team this season would be Elvis Andrus and Jake Berger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of power alone, right?
We throw Eloy in the mix, too? Because he didn't play that much.
But how many home runs did he hit?
Yeah, but if
he played a lot more games than those two guys.
I think he hit like 15 home runs.
15 home runs, I think over about 90 games. If that's over 162, it's around 36.
Jake played like 60,
which I think
we
8. I think we had over 36 home runs for Eloy, but if he still hit 36, it wouldn't.
That would have been a nice year. Yes,
it would have been a nice year. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about Vinnie's latest article on allchgo.com. He talked about Josh Harrison and if he's going to return or not. I honestly am surprised that it's a topic. Josh Harrison has a team option for $5.5 million. Where did you end up coming out on if the Sox should part ways or if they should bring back Harrison next year?
Well, as I just mentioned when we were talking about these grades, I think it's all relative. And I think that Josh Harrison's fate, maybe, we're going to find out, could be tied more to how the rest of the puzzle comes together than anything that he did or did not do in 2022. I think Josh Harrison was not amazing in 2022. I think his offensive numbers in particular were nothing to really write home about. And his defense, again, by comparison, it looked good compared to basically everybody else on the White Sox. But when you break it down, when you go to Fangraphs and start sorting it by all sorts of stuff, when you compare him to the other second baseman around Major League Baseball, kind of toward the bottom of the top 30. I think if you mash the offense and the defense together, Fangraphs by WAR had him as the 30th best second baseman in baseball this year. That to me would say there's room for improvement. That being said, I don't know if you're going to very easily find that guy who improves over that. Of the 29 guys that had higher WAR at second base than he did, 3 of them are going to be free agents. Scope, Segura, and Colton Wong. Colton Wong was horrible defensively this year. Scope was horrible offensively this year. And Gene Segura was kind of fine at both. He was maybe a little bit better than Harrison. But might cost you more than $5.5 million to go get him, too. So The other internal options are not great. I don't think anybody's beaten down the door to give Romy Gonzalez the everyday second base job. His numbers were worse than Harrison's. That all being said, when you look at this roster and the way that guys are kind of stuck at all these positions, either the White Sox have invested a lot of money in these guys, or I should say, or it could be very tricky to move some of them. It's not tricky to open up an opening at second base. You just decline the option for Josh Harrison, and you go make your trade to get a better player at second base. That's much easier said than done, of course. But my point being, you don't have to make this crazy move that takes this huge block out of the Jenga tower in order to improve at second base. You can do that relatively easily. I think that there's room. They can get better at second base than Josh Harrison. And they have an opportunity to do so where they do not maybe have that opportunity, at least an easy opportunity, at other places on the field.
And like you said, the free agent options are, you would maybe want to take a look at James Segura. He's had a pretty good offensive year. But no, not at the price that he's going to command. Same thing with Colton Wong. I'm thinking that $5.5 million for a major league second baseman, which Josh Harrison is right now. He's a major league second baseman to give you quality effort, and maybe the numbers say different, but I thought that that $5.5 million number is a perfect number for a second baseman, which I think is the least valuable offensive position that you need besides catcher. You can get away with him. You can get away with Romy Gonzalez. You can get away with Danny Mendick / Larry Garcia, other internal options. So that would be the last position I would look at as far as improving. Now, if somebody comes with a second baseman that is on a major league roster that is much better than Josh Harrison, and all it takes is a swap of somebody that it doesn't hurt too tough, I'll look into it. But I'm not going out to chase these 3 free agents out there because they don't really improve your team that much more than what having Josh Harrison on your team would do for you. And you could save a lot more money. $5.5 million. I'm thinking those guys are going to make at least double, if not triple, of what Josh Harrison's going to be making on the open market this year.
My point there is, I think the White Sox need to get better.
Yes.
They need to improve. And there are very few, in my opinion, places on that roster where they can do so, other than all those players playing a lot better. There are a few things that Rick Hahn can do to install a new everyday player in any of these various positions. Second base is that option. That being said, Josh Harrison, you're right, is a guy who could perhaps get you what you need, because there's not really a lot of other options out there. And for everything I just said about what the numbers say about him, very positive presence in the clubhouse. I think the way he talks about approaching his job every day is something that fans are the exact thing that fans are looking for. I think when fans complain about kind of some of the attitudes they thought they saw from the White Sox this year, Josh Harrison is not a problem area in that regard. And so that's something that I think that could be a very positive effect if they do decide to bring him back.
I don't usually do this, and because I just see him over there, and I'm thinking what Vinnie just said about Josh Harrison, a positive man in the clubhouse. I'm going to go to my guy Steven, our producer, who's a big Josh Harrison fan, especially when Josh Harrison's doing the high step into second base and going into third. He could have gone into third.
I was thinking it, but I wasn't going to say anything now that you called me out.
Yes.
I love his clubhouse attitude, the energy he brings, but I hate his hustle. I just hate it.
But he does
high
hustle.
Step. Yeah, he hustles with his little motorcycle, maybe.
You would rather see a guy just jog into second base than do any sort of
I'd
leg
rather
kick
see a guy
into second
sprint
base.
into second base and think about a triple.
Stevens, put your head down, get to second base, and think about third base. Pick up that third base coach.
I'm old school.
He's old school. He's the oldest 29-year-old ever.
Crusty, you're crusty over there. You're crusty. I don't like it. I'll be honest with you, Steven. Because here's the thing: every time I've sat in this studio and watched a game with you, and you've made that complaint, and it has been multiple times.
Several.
There was no chance he was ever going to make it to third.
And here's
I
the
just
thing,
want
Vinny.
him to make them think
Steven
about it.
wants people to get thrown out by a mile at third base.
Seriously.
That's what he wants.
We got a third base coach that's great at that, so let's just make it happen.
Vinny, here's the thing. Just thank God you're not in studio for all 162.
Oh,
Okay,
'cause
so
it's every
get
game.
half of it.
every
it's the
game.
Wow,
with Steven.
every game.
And it's not just with Josh Harrison. I mean, like Sebi Zavala got dogged, Carlos Perez got dogged.
Well,
I mean, like, I mean,
well,
right? No, I mean,
Those
it's,
guys had
Lurie.
some notable base running issues throughout the year.
but
if
that's
memory
the
serves.
thing. Even the slow guys are getting dogged for being slow. Like anyone who's not hustling or going as fast as they possibly can on those sprint speed bursts that they have on Statcast, like Steven's dogging you. Steven wants to see that White Sox leaderboard at the top of all that hustle.
Base running is your bugaboo.
A big TW
Honestly,
guy.
it'll never happen, and I hate saying this, the team I want to be like is the Guardians. Like, those guys take every single extra base, and look at the results.
They do, but if you read, and I'll shout out my guy James Fegan because I was reading his latest in The Athletic today, and he had a thing. Here's what the White Sox need to do this offseason, the areas they need to improve in. And he had one heading that was be more like the Guardians, and it said, this was a trick to get you to say this. And his point was quite valid. The Guardians are not built to be a home run team. They're built to be a singles team that goes first to third and runs their asses off for infield
100%.
singles all the time.
Yeah.
The White Sox have a bunch of home run hitters, or should be home run hitters, and to reconfigure your roster to be more like the Guardians is going to put you in no man's land, because then you're going to have half the guys who should be hitting a bunch of home runs and can't do that base running, and then other guys who only are getting infield singles, like maybe, some of these guys that they would call it from the minors or something, and you're still at that power deficiency that you spent all 2022 being in.
And that's what, after every single Guardian game I said, is like they were trying to play Guardian ball against the Guardians. Like, the reason why the Yankees won that series was because they hit home runs. And the thing with the White Sox and Guardians, you look at the power numbers, over the past 2 years, the Sox and Guardians have been head-to-head. The only reason, looking back at why the White Sox won the division in 2021, was because their pitching was elite. Like, their pitching was the best in baseball. They didn't get that this year in 2022. They were an average team. Like, the White Sox need that.
The White Sox pitching was fine in 2022.
Right, but
the
it wasn't
thing that
elite.
made the White Sox bad in 2022 is they didn't hit those home runs that they had hit.
But the pitching
years.
wasn't elite. That's what I was saying. Like, the pitching wasn't at that elite level to beat the Guardians in 2-1 games.
If they would have hit 3 home runs in those games, they would have beaten them all the time.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, that's my point. That's my point. Is like what I think the biggest adjustment is, and I wore the Phillies cap today because of Kyle Schwarber's 120-mile-per-hour home run. And I'm sorry to bring it up, Herb, but I mean, that's
Hey,
my guy.
If you can't, I don't care. If you can't marvel at what that man just did last night, like, that is unbelievable. And I make fun of Theo and Jed for their comment of Babe effing Ruth, but that was Babe effing Ruth. That was a mammoth, hard hit ball, the hardest in StatCast era ever. In playoff StatCast era. That's amazing. Off of Yu Darvish is not garbage himself.
That Bryce Harper reaction in the dugout is going to be the gif of all gifs for the next 10 years.
And he's doing it in San Diego. At night, there's a marine lair. I don't know as much in the October air, but it's hard to hit home runs in that ballpark at night.
You don't think Kyle Schwarber had history doing that growing up in Ohio? The marine layer coming off the Ohio River.
They have a monument. That's what other Sean, who usually in the chat, says, because he's from Middletown, Ohio, where Kyle Schwarber's from, and he said they have a monument in Middletown, Ohio, and I was going to make a journey if the White Sox signed Kyle Schwarber this offseason to Middletown, Ohio, and I was
a monument.
That was the first word that Sean used, was a monument.
What is it actually?
It's a plaque.
A plaque. Yeah.
It's an 8x10 plaque that says like Kyle Schwarber went here, and it's like
It's not a monument.
Other Sean described it as a monument.
They should have a monument of him.
He thought of it as a plaque, but I was listening even to the CHGO Cubs guys today, and you mentioned what Theo and Jed thought of Kyle Schwarber being Babe effing Roof, and we see that first postseason series where he's hitting bombs against the Cardinals, and then the second one in 2016, I mean, just lights up that entire postseason. And even on the CHGO Cubs podcast, like, I was surprised that Ryan, Luke, and Cody didn't bring up today the fact that, they tried to solve the hitting coach thing. Like, you had Chili Davis, I forget who you had in 2017.
Anthony Iapoce.
Like, they were trying to figure it out. And then the big thing that helped Kyle Schwarber was going to the Nationals, working with Kevin Long. Kevin Long still is hitting coach in Philadelphia. He continued the successful hitting after he was traded from Washington to Boston, even after the trade deadline in 2021. But still, he continued the success, hitting 42 home runs with Philly this year. But the main thing was just a certain drill that had him hitting at chest level, and it was just getting that swing right on high fastballs. And that's what led to that breakout in June where he's having 11 straight games with a home run. And it's just like, that's the thing with the White Sox is they have all that talent. Andrew Vaughn, top 10 over the past 2 years in zone contact with like Mookie Betts and like Jose Ramirez. Like he's at like 89%. Those guys are like 90%. Like
in ZC.
In ZC percent.
Yes.
But like
it's short and sweet, not
exactly.
Sierra.
2 letters.
He's got elite contact skills. Jose Abreu has elite contact skills. We know the athlete. Yeah, Tim Anderson. We know the athlete that Luis Robert is. We see what Eloy Jimenez is. Like, I do wonder if they have a hitting coach that is just a little bit better at working with players and especially with certain drills to perfect their swing, like Kevin Long. I do wonder if they are able to find that coach, what this team's able to do, because 149 home runs is not going to work for this team.
My first comment to that would be sometimes it is just getting the things lined up between a player and the coach. Yep. And sometimes a player and the right coach meet and boom, unlocks something. Obviously, it didn't work for all of the Nationals because they're terrible now. Right. But,
that was in 2021. He was the coach. Then they were a little bit better then.
Right. I would imagine they have some of the same players that they did last year. But my point being that, when people, it's easy to look at a team-wide offensive failure and say, oh, it was a team-wide, a failure of the hitting coach or something like that. You could bring in a new hitting coach. He could be awesome, and he could turn around 2 guys. You know what I mean? And great job for him. You know what I mean? Like, and or you could bring somebody in and they could turn everything around. But I'm just saying that, like, you can't. I don't think you could put all the failures on one guy, and I don't think you could put all the successes on one guy.
I'm not saying all the failures, but I do think, like, even with Ethan Katz, I mean, we praised him for the work with Davis Martin, what the pitching lab has been able to do. Same with Jimmy Lambert. Same with Reynaldo Lopez, even though that's probably like LASIK and then him just moving to the bullpen and getting...
and being able to see.
Able to see, and then just getting miles per hour and is already 97 mile per hour fastball. But even with Lucas prior to 2021 and 2022, as well with Carlos Rodon and Dylan Cease, like, I mean, that's 5 names right there that we can credit with Ethan Katz. Like, I just think a new coach would be huge for this team. Like, it might not be the perfect fit, but I think it is just time to get a new voice.
It's possible. But I would say this too. Nobody is throwing Katz under the bus because Giolito had a bad year. Yeah. Nobody's crushing Ethan Katz because Dallas Keuchel was so bad the last 2 years. You know what I mean? Like,
some of those were predictable. I mean, Keuchel, that didn't hit me. Like,
Right, but it's the pitching coach's job to get him better, right?
Yeah.
And if you're going to say how come Frank Menachino can't do XYZ with pick a hitter, how come you can't say, oh, well, it's not Ethan's fault. Well, Dallas is bad.
Let's just bring it back to the second base discussion. Like, I don't want to be this guy, but Leury Garcia is the reason that I think the White Sox are in a true bind here, because he's getting paid $5.5 million next year and in 2024. Josh Harrison's a better player. I would rather give $5.5 million to Josh Harrison next year than Leury Garcia. Yet the White Sox tied their hands, giving $11 million to a guy that played 86 games while Tony La Russa was the manager, and I think about 11 after he was gone. I'm not saying Frank Menachino needs to be turning Leury Garcia into a 600 OPS player, but like guys like Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, some of these higher fine-tuned athletes, along with Yohan Moncada, I think getting in a different voice would be huge for the Sox, just because the success hasn't been great over the past 2 years. That's all.
With that last point, I don't think it's either or with Leury / Josh Harrison. I think that money exists. Spending $11 million on those 2 people who would fill out one position is fine, and they would come back together. It's not like Leury's on the team. I can't have Josh Harrison.
Well, and Leury's being paid to play a different position. Yeah, Leury is being paid to play utility. Multiple. That he did not hit well is the problem. You know what I mean? And as is all the injuries that they suffered. But they're not paying him to be the second baseman. They have a separate. You would hope, a separate silo of money that applies to the guy that they want to bring in for second
He played
base.
86 games this year while Tony La Russa was manager, and I believe he started 45 of them at second base. So half of the games that he played were at second base as a starter.
Their second baseman wasn't producing either. Josh Harrison didn't have a very good offensive year.
And
Leury Garcia was the worst baseball player in Major League Baseball last year.
Before we get to Emiliano's super chat,
yes, thank you.
I wanted to talk about what you were talking about, how sometimes hitting coaches match up with one guy.
Yeah.
Like, I famously remember Frank Thomas loving Walt Hriniak. always loving Walt Hriniak, and he would never get fired because Frank Thomas, the best hitter, loved Walt Hriniak. But Walt Hriniak's style didn't work for other players. It didn't work for other players in the White Sox organization, but he had a job forever. Same thing, I think, Paul Konerko and Greg Walker. They met up, and they felt good. They had a good rapport with each other. Greg Walker was always rumored to be fired because, the White Sox not hitting. But Paul Konerko liked him, or some other player liked him, so he had a little power right there because of the best hitter having success with him. Hitting coaches, I think, get way too much blame and way too much credit. I think pitching coaches actually do things to change players' futures. I think hitting coaches, like your individual thing right there with Kevin Long and Kyle Schwarber, a little adjustment to work a drill so you can get your hands up so you can hit the higher fastballs. Yeah, that works. But for the most part, I've never seen a Major League Baseball player besides Frank Thomas really say, hey, man, Walt Hriniak made my career. I want to give credit to Walt Hriniak type of thing.
That's fair, but I think the White Sox, they've built out their pitching department. I don't think they've built out their hitting department to the same level. And you look at the Giants, who have, one of the players in that Z contact percent over the past 2 years, ZC percent over the past 10 years is Wilmer Flores. And the reason why Wilmer Flores has been able to thrive in San Francisco is because he's mainly a platoon player, but also they're putting him in against pitchers who have certain fastball trajectories. So I think Wilmer Flores is a very good sinker ball hitter. So not only is he hitting lefties with sinker, not only is he hitting just lefties, he's also hitting lefties with sinkers.
Goes right into a swing plane.
Right. So that's the one thing that I don't think the White Sox do. And even with Kevin Long, I don't think he would work with Luis Robert, because one thing that we saw Luis Robert in 2021 open his stance up a little bit more, and he was great after he came off the IL, opened up that stance in about August, and came off, hit 12 home runs, was murdering baseballs at the end of 2021 because he opened his stance. One thing Kevin Long's loves preaching is closing up stances. So I don't know if it would work with every single athlete, but I do think, especially just getting more, if we're doing it with the manager, I think you have to do it with the hitting coach as well. And I think they just need to, again, not only with the injury staff and the analytics staff, but with the hitting staff as well, just build out that department, because I think that there are certain changes that they can make, and especially with pitch recognition. That's something that Kevin Long's been praised with before. Brandon Marsh turned it around from his trade with the Angels to the Phillies because he started being a little bit more selective. One thing that I think the Sox need to be, they were last in walk rate last year, is be a little bit more selective. And especially with the new slider and the increased usage of that becoming the new dominant pitch, the White Sox really struggled against sliders. I think you need to get a coach that has a proven track record of being able to help hitters, getting hitters being able to hit sliders more. So I don't know. I think that's all I'm saying.
I don't think there's really anything wrong with what you're saying. I would just say this: if and when they do make that change, don't expect everything to magically change.
Yes, I'm not saying that. Yeah. But again, the talent was so shocking for them to go 81 and 81 because of the talent on the roster. So I think that the talent can be helped a little bit. Let's get to Emilio's super chat here. And I did love it because Emiliano said, hi, Mijos, and hello, Emiliano. Re-sign Abreu. And then he immediately followed up and said, sign Judge.
Nope, he said resign.
He said resign Abreu.
Resign
Abreu. But there's no comma, so it's hard to understand who he's talking to.
That's true. Hi, Mijos, resign Abreu.
It's one of my pet peeves.
Resign.
Because it's literally the opposite. It means the opposite. One means to resign, and the other one means to quit.
I am all for resigning Abreu.
Yes, bye, Abreu.
Yeah. But you're a hater, we know.
You are a hater.
We established that on day one of this podcast.
And Emiliano is not just your thing. Everybody does it. So I'm not just picking on you. Every time I see it, it hurts.
So here's the thing. What if we get Lucas Giolito off the White Sox? We decline Hold on. Trade Lucas Giolito, get us $10 million off the team. Hold on. Decline Josh Harrison's player option.
Okay.
Let Jose Abreu walk. Okay. Right there, that's about what? $33 million.
Wait, but in this scenario, you're non-tendering Lucas Giolito?
Pick him up and trade him.
Trade him to who?
I don't know.
Exactly.
How are you going to trade him and then lose all $10 million?
How are the White Sox going to sign Judge? That's what the plan was to lay out. Well, okay. He said sign Judge. I was just honoring the super chat, Vinny. So I'm just saying, if you want them to sign Judge, Abreu, Giolito, and Harrison probably needs to go. But
that's still only $33 million.
Right, and that's probably not enough.
No, it's not. Not close enough.
I'm just trying to get it back to Harrison. That's all. that's the one thing. And I know you're saying it's not apples to apple because the Garcia money was the Garcia money, and he was signed before Josh Harrison was even brought into the mix. But I don't think they effectively used him, Leury Garcia, in the way that they wanted to last year. But I don't think that's really Josh Harrison.
Since they've been able to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because of injuries. They're
you.
constantly being pressed into making him the player that they don't.
But Josh Harrison wasn't injured last year.
No, he was bad.
Okay, injuries and underperformance. But I mean, you know what I mean? Like, Leury Garcia has pretty much supposed to be a super utility guy from the day he was been on this team. And by the way, here's a fact that I'm not quite sure everybody has realized yet. If Jose Abreu does not come back to the White Sox, Jose Abreu's entire White Sox career can fit inside Leury Garcia's entire White Sox career.
He is the longest.
See, Steven didn't know. He just got that. Lawrence didn't know. He just heard that for the first time.
You guys didn't know that Leury Garcia is the longest tenured White Sox?
But when you put
he's
that,
Mr. White Sox.
Those words also don't say what Vinnie just said. I mean, they say what they do, but you don't think about it. Like, fuck.
One of maybe the 10 greatest players in franchise history. His entire career fit inside the time that Leury Garcia was on this team.
Oh, I thought you were saying Leury Garcia was one of the greatest players in the franchise history. Yeah. Oh, man, we could probably play some games with Leury Garcia, connecting him. Like, he's probably Kevin Bacon at this point.
Oh, yeah.
He is White Sox Kevin Bacon at this point, absolutely.
But the thing with Leury, and that is disgusting, and Cody was saying on the Cubs podcast today that he'd be so upset to see Anthony Rizzo win a World Series with any other team, and I'm like, oh,
he's
I'm fine.
already won a World Series with the Cubs.
But, like, with a different team. Like, he would hate to see him win with the Yankees.
Why?
Because he's a fan.
He could go back and watch the game where Anthony Rizzo did that with his team.
Don't worry, I'm making fun of him now. We're fine with Jose Abreu going to the Astros to win a World Series, right? But if Leury Garcia won a World Series with any other team, I'd be crushed.
No.
He's Mr. White Sox.
No, he isn't. Don't ever put that name on him again.
Cody referred to
Vinnie Minoso is Mr. White Sox.
Cody referred to that's the thing. Cody referred to Rizzo as the latest Mr. Cub.
No,
so if
there's no such thing as the latest Mr. Cub. There's literally one.
Just the
that
one.
is a literal guy in a cemetery over there on the north side. His name is Ernie Banks.
If the
Stop disrespecting these Cubs over here, Cody.
If the
he left.
Son of a bitch.
He gone. If we're gonna disrespect the name Mr. Cub and Mr. White Sox, then we'll do it with Leury Garcia and Anthony Rizzo.
And it wouldn't be Anthony Rizzo either. Anthony Rizzo was picked up from two different teams, San Diego and Boston. That's not Mr. Cub. Mr. Cub would more be Chris Bryant, who was drafted by the team, was a minor league player of the year, and Rookie of the Year and an MVP. Not Anthony Rizzo.
Continue playing for the team for a long time.
You would have to.
Be
wouldn't
Mr.
it be
Mr.
Ian
Whatever.
No, but I'm saying, like, if we're comparing on those two, it would be somebody who was drafted by the team, not Anthony Rizzo, was picked off a trade from San Diego.
But Ian Happ won the 2016 World Series, was drafted by the Cubs, and still is playing with them, and was an All-Star.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he be Mr. Cub?
No. It's still Ernie Banks.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, no, it's still Ernie Banks. Anyways, you can bet on it, too. You can bet on Ernie Banks still being Mr. Cubs, and you can bet on the NBA because NBA fans, I'm doing the ad read. NBA fans.
You win, but you wouldn't win much.
You got to bet $18,000 to win 100.
So we're giving you, what, 1 to 180 odds?
Yes.
All right, there you go. NBA fans, you'll get a lot better odds this NBA season with DraftKings. The wait is over. Vinny's wearing his Bulls hat. Basketball is back. So tip off this season with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA moneyline bet and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Check this out. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings up to 100% with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in at the top of the homepage, and place a stepped-up same-game parlay today. With bigger payouts than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook is where I go to bet on the NBA. They gave me a free same-game parlay. I also opted into the free $5 same-game parlay. I'm taking Ayo Dosunmu over 8.5 points because, of course, I'm taking Patrick Williams to record 1+ block, and I'm also betting the Heat to win by 6.5. But I can get that at plus 550, $5 to win $14. Very excited for my free bet for DraftKings tonight. They also have boosted odds on Kevin Durant to score 20 points tonight. You can get that at plus 100 against the Pelicans. So a lot of great boosted odds on the opening night of the NBA season today. So download the DraftKings Sports app now and use promo code CHGO. Make any $5 bet this week and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. I always feel weird reading read show notes for details, because that feels like I should not read it.
Yeah.
But that's just like read the description. So if you want more notes.
I thought it was going to make it. I thought you were going to say that you don't like reading it because it makes you seem like you should have written show notes.
Oh yeah, like right. I don't have a rundown. Oops. The show notes also say that Pins and Aces is next. So Pins and Aces is the official golf apparel partner of CHGO. Will the Goat Gottlieb was raving about Pins and Aces because he's the golfer on the CHGO Bulls show. He loves his Pins and Aces gear. Our guy Steven, our producer, is our golf guy on the CHGO White Sox podcast. He gets tons of compliments. Will the Goat Gottlieb just gets tons of compliments because he's Will the Goat Gottlieb. But Steven specifically gets compliments on his Pins and Aces gear on and off the course. They're a family-owned golf apparel and business, and they make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve. It's an innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep those drinks cold the entire round. Check out pinsandaces.com and use code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. Let's talk about Elvis Andrus here, because that was the one name that we really haven't mentioned in the second base discussion. You brought up Danny Mendick. He'll be coming back from an ACL injury, but I'm not sure what his timetable is. I think those are about 9 to 12 months injuries. So I think very, very best timeline would be he'd be back by April. But I think you'd probably say Mendick's coming back in the second month of the season, third month of the season.
Well, and also my thing too is listen, Danny Mendick was great when he played last year. That's a small sample size.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be going into 2023 counting on Danny Mendick to do the same thing that he did for you in such a small amount of games this past year.
Especially coming off of injuries, especially coming off of if they saw what they saw last year, exposing him to more playing time. That's why I think the thing with Leury Garcia, and you were speaking to it, he's good in small doses. He's a perfect utility guy, a 5th infielder, 4th outfielder, but then he was pressed into duty. And I think Danny Mendick is a player like that, where if he's pressed into duty way too much, he was like, Danny Mendick is Danny Mendick. He's not the guy that we thought was ascending. He's just a good Major League Baseball player that, needs to be starting once every week.
Well, here's real quick. This was sent to me by Alex Rude, who's in the comments. I forgot Baseball Reference has this feature, but you could connect. You could basically play the Kevin Bacon game, but with baseball players. Chain of teammates from Leury Garcia to shoeless Joe Jackson.
3 players.
More than that.
Okay.
Leury Garcia played with Mike Pelfrey for the 2017 White Sox. Mike Pelfrey played with Tom Glavine for the 2007 Mets. Tom Glavine played with Phil Niekro for the 1987 Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
Takes you way back.
Phil Niekro played with Warren Spahn for the 1964 Milwaukee Braves. Warren Spahn played with C. Johnson, S.I. Johnson? Cy Johnson, but it's not C.Y. Cy Johnson for the 1946 Boston Braves. Cy Johnson played with Jack Quinn for the 1933 Cincinnati Reds, and Jack Quinn played with shoeless Joe Jackson for the 1918 Chicago White Sox.
Cincinnati Red.
So you can go back 7 players to shoeless Joe Jackson.
But I mean, when you're throwing Phil Niekro in there, you can probably do that with just about any player.
But you can exclude players. So
exclude Phil Niekro and see where it goes.
I'll try to exclude Phil Niekro. But let's talk about Elvis Andrus. And let's go straight into his report card, because in 43 games, you could argue that Elvis Andrus was the best player for the White Sox, even though I think our guy Steven, or whoever the first commenter wanted to give him a C+ because of his bad 2 weeks. Samuel Martin wants to give Elvis a C+. We're giving Elvis an A- for offense, an A for defense, and overall an A for his 43 games with the White Sox. I ended up giving up the defense grade. So you guys okay with an A overall for Elvis Andrus in his 43 games?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in 43 games, I think he had a B WAR of 1.7. If you extrapolate that over 162, that's 6.5 WAR. That would make him the second best shortstop in the game this year. I mean, just his numbers currently with a 3.5 F WAR make him the 12th best shortstop in the whole league. So he had a pretty decent year for himself, even combined with the year with Oakland, or the majority of the games with Oakland. But the White Sox, the 43 games, the 9 home runs, he had a outstanding time here with the White Sox. I remember you were like, the White Sox should get Elvis Andrus. It's perfect. Tim Anderson's out. You don't know how long he's out. He'll give you competency at shortstop. You're running down the fucking stairs, almost falling, breaking your stuff when they sign Elvis Andrus. I was like, what are you getting so hyped for? This man is just average, garbage. And he comes here and does much more. This is a thing. If I doubt a Rick Hahn signing, this player is going to go out and do well. So I doubted the Johnny Cueto one. I doubted the Elvis Andrus one. And both these players made the White Sox competitive up to a point, and then they fell off the table. So these are good moves. And Elvis Andrus had a outstanding White Sox campaign, only 43 games, but you could tell the leadership was there immediately. You wasn't feeling like he had to wait his turn or sit in the back. He called meetings in the middle of pitching. He saw a pitcher struggling. He's like, hey, man, I'm going to come here and get you a quick breather and such, so it won't be a mound visit. Just act like I'm grabbing the rosin just for a little meeting so you can take your breath and then go back to shortstop. That's what a leader does, and he did that time and time again, and he said a lot of words to these guys to make them feel, hey, you're the most talented team I've ever played with. I literally played with Boomstick and Adrian Beltre, who are maybe Hall of Famers, and you guys are the most talented team I've ever played with. Those words got to go into people's mind and say, hey, you know what, if Elvis thinks this, maybe we are.
He said at the end of the year that the only player that he would, as a teammate, that he would compare to Jose Abreu to was Adrian Beltre.
That's amazing.
I mean, like, that's a guy with 3,000
huge
hits.
praise.
Hall of Famer right there, and Jose Abreu should be a Hall of Famer if you're including his Cuban stats. But, yeah, I think Elvis is an interesting player just because we talked about the possible transition to second base. We never saw it with the White Sox. I don't know if he actually wants to do that because it probably seems that with the season that he had, you mentioned he was worth 6 WAR with the White Sox. Wasn't worth that much if you combine the Oakland days. But when he was tuned in, when he was ready to play each and every day for a contending team, he was very, very effective. I'd be surprised if a guy who's played over 2,000 games at shortstop is going to take a pay cut to go to second base, because I think that's what moving to second base would also come with, is taking a little bit of a pay cut.
Well, he said it to us at the end of the year. I mean, I asked him, would you go to second base, next year if you had to? And he basically said, if I had to, if that was the only option, sure. He wants to play and he wants to win. And so if the route to doing that is to switch to second base, then sure. But while I would caution the near frothing at the mouth that Herb had in praising Elvis Andrews right there as perhaps being the result of a very nice couple of months, rather than, this guy is going to be an all-star next year, what he did in a White Sox uniform should earn him a starting shortstop job on one of the 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. I think he proved that. He's talked about his health improving this year and feeling more like he used to this year. This is a guy who is obviously a very good presence both on and off the field, and he showed you what he can do with the bat when he's feeling good. Again, I would hesitate maybe if I was a front office person to assume that would be extrapolated over the course of an entire season, but there are a lot of bad teams out there who need an everyday shortstop. Mm-hmm. And I think Elvis will probably find himself an everyday shortstop job in free agency, which would therefore likely eliminate him from returning to the White Sox.
And I sure hope he does, because while he did come and play well for the White Sox, I don't think this is forecasting to the next year. I don't think this is sustainable. I don't think that he can do this. The 43 games gave him a jolt of energy. I went from the depths of hell in Oakland to a nice spot in Chicago.
Which level of hell? Which one of Dante's
7.
circles of hell is the Oakland Coliseum?
Has to be the 7th.
The bottom, because they had rodents, they had pestilence, they had ants, of course. Vinnie saw that.
Numerous plagues.
Saw that for firsthand. Ants attacking the laptop. So coming to Chicago is like, yes, I got a second chance at winning, and that had a shot of adrenaline to him. I don't think coming back here to play second base will have the same effect with him because of the different changes of the position. Now he's comfortable with this team, and maybe he's not as excited and hyped up to be on the White Sox as he was when he got traded from the Oakland A's.
And let's just remember, he's never played second base in the major leagues. Now, we asked Miguel Cairo about that, who has played second base in the major leagues, and he basically went, like, he's a shortstop. Of course he can play second base, which is like, wow, maybe all of my talking fans off the ledge about how, like, guys probably should play the positions that they've played before. That's probably a good idea. Has not worked because you have a major league baseball player or a former Major League Baseball player telling you, yeah, if you can play shortstop, you can play second base.
Right. Well, and the thing is,
though it does strike as it's extremely hard, doesn't it?
Elvis Andrus is very, very good at defense, which I just think would make him very, very good at any defensive position. Like, I don't think the move to shortstop to second base would be too bad. And even Chi-Town fanboys saying, like, Elvis Andrus, are we sure he should be getting an A because of his ability to throw runners out from second base at home? And, like, yes, that was a horrible, horrible look, a horrible, horrible slip up. But Elvis Andrus, with his time with the White Sox, had an outs above average of 4. And Steven, I did send you that blind resume if you want to put that together, because there is a stat, or at least the stats that I will show you on that, I think will blow your mind when we reveal the 2 players. But his outs above average of being 4, like, I mean, that's better than Tim Anderson has had recently. Like, he played at least at an above average level at that shortstop position.
Second on the team, right?
Yeah.
Behind Moncada?
Mm-hmm.
I think Moncada was first, yeah.
Right.
And Harrison was third.
In 43 games.
Yeah.
And like, it's just crazy with Andrus. Like, I think the level he turned it up to was fantastic, and even offensively too. Like, I think you gave him a B+. And that's like, the power number was great, 9 home runs was fantastic, but he also stole 9 bags and didn't get thrown out once. Like, he was
aggressive.
Great. Like, he was aggressive,
smart. He's a
like,
smart baseball player.
And the thing too, like, you brought up the mound meetings and like him gathering up the defense. Like, I do wonder if that is going to overlook, like, if Tim Anderson isn't doing like that, like the shortstop and catcher are usually like the 2 captains of the defense. I wonder if you add a guy like that to second base, if there would be like too many voices on the mound, or if it'd be like,
I think
too
people
competitive for leadership.
Understand when they see a leader and they, play the background or they butt heads. I don't think Tim would see Elvis Andrus, if Elvis was to come back and do the same things, he would see that as a challenge to himself. He would see that as good. Somebody stepping to that mantle that maybe I wasn't comfortable with, or, I'm more of a, hey, this is what I'm doing, follow me this way, not that type of leader. So, yeah, I don't think Tim would have a problem with that. Jose definitely didn't have a problem with the catcher, didn't have a problem with that. So I think they can coexist on the same team. I don't want it to coexist on the same team because I think that Elvis Andrus won't be the guy that showed up on the South Side last year. But if it happens to happen, I think Elvis would be more than willing to play the leadership role in the infield, and Tim would fall back to the second spot.
You brought up that I gave him a B+. I gave him a B+ for what Joe R. is talking about. The comment there, just being a competent shortstop made him look like Superman. And I think I'm not trying to, drag TA as much as Joe R. might be, but my point being that with the problems that the White Sox had all year in energy, in doing the fundamental things, in playing defense, and in hitting home runs, someone stepped in at the end of the year who was doing all of those things, and everybody noticed because they had watched a team for months that couldn't do any of those things. He comes here, does these things, and it's like, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Elvis Andrus is the second coming." I mean, he was good. He was good for 2 months. He had a good 2 months. And he deserves all the credit in the world for those good 2 months.
So you're stepping back and you're looking at it as a wide view instead of like, hey, I'm not judging him on whatever garbage they had before that, like it was Roman Gonzalez or other players who were just fine. But Elvis Andrus came here and, it got us some eye watch. Like, whoa, that's how shortstop Chippy played? Wow, that's pretty good. And I think he did it at a higher level than I've seen at shortstop for a long time for the White Sox. Even with Tim Anderson, he played both more than competent defensively and offense. To hit 9 home runs at the shortstop position in only 43 games is phenomenal. For any player, it's pretty phenomenal.
Just to hit 17 home runs as a shortstop like that's fantastic. I mean,
at the end of his career, too.
Just showing his power. I mean, he's hit 20 before, but like it didn't feel like that or even coming close to that number would happen again. So that was just huge. And I do want to say, like, Steven, do we have the blind resume ready?
I don't have the second resume.
Okay. That works. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it has the data. That's all that matters. So player A, we'll go through the numbers. We're going through outs above average, OPS, weighted runs created plus, and isolated power. Player A on the left, player B on the right. Outs above average, they're both tied at 4. These are both shortstops. OPS, player A had a 773. Also, shout out to 773
Chicago.
in the South Side. And then player B.
Area code shout out. Gotta love an area code shout out.
Hey, South Side with Io.
Hey, that's Luna Carpeting's
it is.
area code.
Io probably has a 773 cell number.
202.
Luna. Is Falco 773 too?
Probably. Yeah.
Quality sidings, windows, and doors. Call 866
Oh,
for
866.
Felco.
Boo.
All
Matt
right.
Spiegel with the song right there.
Yeah, and they didn't pay him.
I don't think so. I'm not going to be crapping on Felco.
Oh, he crapped on Falco.
They got quality windows, siding, and doors.
Oh my God. I produced Speaks for enough, and I think he mentioned that he sung that song and then didn't get paid. So that's all I'm saying. And they've been using his voice for like 20 years now.
Sign a better contract.
Hey, I didn't say Spiegel. It sucks for him. You know. But anyways, let's go to the fun resume. I'm sorry. Outs above average, 4 for both of these players. OPS 773 for player A, 772 for player B. Weighted runs created plus 119 for player A, 117 for player B, and then isolated power 193 on the left and 211 on the right. You guys had to pick one. Which one are you picking?
And isolated power is just what, slugging minus batting average?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have basically showed us players who had the exact same season.
In a way, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Not
So-
really stats.
So
Yeah.
one of them is Elvis Andrus. I'm going to guess the 773 is Elvis Andrus.
That is correct.
Okay. The other guy, it has to be a pretty much top-notch guy at the top of the league. I'm going to go with Xander Bogaerts.
No.
I have no idea who this could be. I would love it to be someone hilarious, but I think it's just going to be what Herb said.
$325 million man, Corey Seager.
Wow.
For the Texas Rangers. I mean, it's 43 games. It's a very, very small sample size. Seager did this over 150 plus.
But the outs above average being the same is a big time plus for Elvis Andrus because he only did that in 4 games. Or 43 games. And Corey Seager did it in 100-plus games. It's a cumulative stat, right? The outs above average?
Yeah, right. I mean, like, the numbers would say, like, Elvis Andrus would produce, like, I think it'd be, like, about 12 outs above average to, like, 14 outs above average if, like, over a full season. But also that's saying that he would play with the same intensity level of those 4 games over 162.
And no slumps in there.
Probably doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, like, I think, you know, you could say that Superman might be a little bit too much for Elvis Andrus, but he deserves that A.
He does. Also, man, the Rangers are just, they don't know what they're doing.
They're going to throw some more money at somebody else.
Yep.
I guarantee they're going to throw some money probably at Judge.
I want to bring this up because shortstop is probably the deepest free agent position this year.
This year,
so
absolutely.
maybe that's the
Goodness
thing
gracious.
that hurts Elvis in the long run. Trey Turner is going to be a free agent. Carlos Correa is he can opt
No,
out.
he already hit the button, Sean.
But all these-
And
but
not
all-
Would he
officially.
compare himself
but
to an Hermes bag or a Prada
yes,
bag?
he's gone immediately. I told you at the beginning of the year, as soon as the season's over, I'm out of
I
Minnesota.
said it too.
But all these teams are going to need shortstops. Boy, the Minnesota Twins would love to have Elvis Andrus, I'm sure.
Oh, God, and he
Right.
would be good, too, wouldn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, so Trey Turner, Dodgers, Carlos Correa, Twins, Xander Bogart can't opt out, Red Sox. It's likely that they won't bring him back. Dansby Swanson for the Braves. Tim Anderson is a club option. The White Sox are picking that up. Elvis Andrus is going to be a free agent, so you know that team. He's kind of doesn't really leave
How
a
about
team without
Dansby
a position.
Swanson? Perfect time to become the player that he was drafted as. The last 2 years, he's been phenomenal. He's going to get paid. He's going to get broke off.
Plays a ton of innings too. So like Boston's going to need a shortstop. LA's going to need a shortstop. Minnesota's going to need a shortstop. Atlanta's going to need a shortstop. And then that's really about the 4 starters that are being lost here. So, I mean,
Twins.
I'm sure, yeah, Elvis Andrus would be perfectly. They got Andrew Simmons a couple years ago, seriously thinking about him being the shortstop for the whole season, and he was hurt for the most part. Then he had the COVID thing where didn't want to get a shot. Elvis Andrus is a much better upgrade from Andrew Simmons is, and so that would be a perfect fit for Elvis Andrus.
you just feel it in your gut that he's going to be a twin.
And he's going to be good, too.
Well, I think that those other 3 teams that you mentioned would spend big to fill that gap. Bigger, I should say.
Well, the Red Sox can assume that Trevor Story is
Sure,
going to
just
slide
move
over,
over.
and I'm pretty sure they have one of their top prospects as a shortstop or second base prospect. So I don't know if they're going to go out.
Atlanta
and spend.
has just an endless supply of prospects, as do the Dodgers.
And I'm sure that Dansby's thinking about signing back with the hometown team.
considering everyone else on that roster has.
Yes, exactly. And so, we'll check out free agents, see what people are offering, and then eventually go back to Atlanta. But I thought that about Freddie Freeman last year, but he's not a native Atlanta guy or a native Georgian like Dansby Swanson is, so he'll keep out there.
There was some drama with that Casey Close stuff too.
I just can't believe it that an agent would be like, no, I'm not going to report what the Atlanta Braves are giving you. I'm just gonna give you what the Dodgers are saying to you.
Yeah, and
it seems weird.
Well, then of course Doug Gottlieb just being the reporter, the great reporter that he is, going out and leaking that information without.
I'm gonna give him credit for that.
Well, but no, I mean he had to go back and
somebody got that.
Oh, what?
I said somebody got the Doug Gottlieb. I'm gonna give him credit for that.
Did he say that?
In college, he got thrown out of school and got thrown in jail for stealing credit cards.
Oh, okay. Because I knew he did something dirty when it was at OSU, but I forgot it was stealing credit cards.
I think that was at Notre Dame, and then he went to OSU.
Gotcha. Yeah, Notre Dame wouldn't allow that. But so
too good for that.
Minnesota will need a shortstop. Dodgers will need a shortstop. Braves will need a shortstop. I mean, I could see Elvis Andrus going to the Twins. Like that. That would make sense in my mind.
I mean, the White Sox already have, and Joe R is asking if anybody would think about trading TA. No. As I said before, TA is worth much more to the White Sox and their community than he is worth to everybody else in Major League Baseball. Losing TA, you would have to bring back a Hall, and I would not be satisfied if they traded TA for anything else than a superstar coming back on the other side, because I think Tim Anderson's a superstar. I think he means a lot to the community. I think he means a lot to the team in general. What the hell is the motto? It's changed the game. That's TA. That's why I think TA it'll be very disappointing if they've moved on from Tim Anderson, because he is the White Sox, and the White Sox are him.
You can bring up how upset some folks would be, a lot of folks would be, if Jose Abreu doesn't come back last year because of the production that he has had over the years. Jose Abreu, as great a player as he has been in a White Sox uniform, is not the face of the franchise. Tim Anderson is the face of the franchise and has been for several years now.
I was worried you were going to say Larry Garcia again.
I was gonna.
He's Mr. White Sox. Let's put the right. He's the legend. He's Mr. White Sox. Those are the two certified names for Larry Garcia. NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball is back. Vinnie has the Bulls hat on. We have Ayo Dosunmu as our now new brand ambassador. We have the CHGO Bulls pre and post game for you tonight as the Bulls take on the Heat. So if you were
boom 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 boom.
Is that better than Alan Parsons?
No, a million%.
No.
What?
Yes.
You're saying 1,000,000%?
Yeah.
No.
Because the Alan Parsons Project song, I'm going to break everybody's heart here, is like actually not very good.
You don't like it? Doesn't give you chills when you hear that.
Not as much as Only the Bulls does. I'm going to be perfectly honest.
Serious gives me chills.
Every single time I hear the home introduction, it's like, oh yeah.
They should play Only the Bulls
right
during that.
It's too late. It's too weird. It doesn't get you.
It's goofy.
Up.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's not like.
It needs
let's
to be
go.
fun.
Let's go beat the Miami Heat.
Hey,
It's like,
heck! Only the Bulls are serious by Alan Parsons Project.
Depends on the mood, but if I'm forced to pick one, serious.
Now you're all wrong.
Look at my man.
But he
You're all wrong.
did say dependent on mood. I would say the same.
Just chills.
Our guy Connor is in the comments referencing Only the Bulls. It used to be, I don't know if this is still the case, if you Googled Only the Bulls, a highlight video that he made on YouTube was the first thing that came up.
I gotta find
Is
that
it
now.
of Tony Kukoc? Wow, that's old.
Was he Crash Rowan?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep, there you
that sounds about
There you
right
go.
for our guy.
There you go.
He's always in the chat bringing up
Yep.
04 Aaron Rowan
Yep,
stats.
there
So
you go.
there you go.
The con man.
I just literally typed in Only the Bulls, Steven.
Yep.
It was very easy to find.
Yep.
Anyways,
I think you were in the
DraftKings.
middle of an ad read at some point.
I think so.
Sorry, DraftKings.
Anyways, the NBA season is back, so tip off the season with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA moneyline bet and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Tonight is, well, we got to give you the pick of the week today, and the pick of the week is told to you by DraftKings. I'm the host of CHGO Bets. I'll try to let you know when there is an edge, and you just got boosted odds tonight. Kevin Durant has scored 20 points in a lot of games in his NBA career. And a lot of those games, if you were to bet on Kevin Durant to score 20 points, you'd probably be getting those odds at like minus 500 or worse. Tonight, it's plus 100 on the DraftKings Sports app. It's boosted odds. Kevin Durant to score 20 points. Last time he played the Pelicans, he only scored 12. But that was in 12 minutes. So if he plays at least 20 minutes, he'll probably score 20 points. So that's the pick of the week tonight. Kevin Durant to score 20-plus points against the Pelicans. That's my pick of the week. I think it's the best value out there. Download the download the DraftKings Sports app today and use promo code CHGO. Make any $5 bet this week and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
Do people still call Kevin Durant the Durantula?
No.
That was a great nickname.
It should have stuck. I love that nickname. It was a perfect one. He didn't like Slim Reaper. He didn't like Durantula.
Slim Reaper's good.
Oh, God. Durantula is so perfect. No?
I can't believe I slipped up. No, I'm still.
Don't even trip.
I'm all miffed about that. We need a dump button. We need our 7-second delay back from the score. And now we got to let you know about Chi-Town Custom Cornhole. They're the #1 cornhole provider of Chicagoland and Illinois since 2007. Their signature box style can be digitally printed, covered in vinyl, and painted. Our cornball whores come with built-in drink holders recessed in on the back, LED lights that light up the hole, and exterior handles for easy carrying and handcrafted scorekeepers. You can come to our CHGO tailgate that's happening next on November 6th and see the CHGO Chi-Town Cornhole boards that they have made for us. They're great playing surfaces as well. I've played a lot of bags in my days. My dad used to make bag boxes, so I know when a good bag board is made. And these are high class. Fantastic slide on the board. Those LED lights are very sweet when you're playing at night. Who doesn't love a drink holder? I mean, people splurge for that in their cars. You don't have to splurge for that. That's just the base model. You could just get the cup holders. And also they got little trackers as well. You used to have like the little counting arithmetic things.
Scoreboard.
They got the scoreboard thing as well. But kind of like the little
abacus.
Like an abacus.
Yeah, an abacus. Thank you. I knew you guys were smart. They have abacuses. And hey, they have custom bags as well. We have CHGO bags with Nux on the actual bag, which is great. So don't download anything. Visit ChitownCornhole.com today. Check out their website. Again, ChitownCornhole.com, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Chi-Town_custom_cornhole boards. That's not their ad. What's their ad? At Chi-Town Custom Cornhole Boards. At Chi-Town Custom Cornhole Boards. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Chi-Town Custom Cornhole Boards.
Sean.
It looks like there's
Wade
a space
Boggs
in
Carpet
these.
World. Wade Boggs Carpet World. Wade Boggs Carpet World.
Here.
Don't
There's no
worry.
space.
Next week when you're gone, I'll be reading these much worse than you will.
Oh, thank you. That
Much
gives me a
worse.
lot of solace.
Sean,
And
while
people
you're-
will come back like, oh, goddamn, good that Sean's back. Ugh, that hurt.
While you're doing that read, I looked up Kevin Durant's nicknames on his sports reference page. Durantula, KD, Slim Reaper, Easy Money Sniper, The Servant, and Green Room.
All terrible at the end.
I haven't heard those last two.
Green Room, I think, is literally his podcast service. I don't know what the server is. That one's horrible.
I think those are both terrible.
Yeah.
Durantula and Slim Reaper I love.
Well,
He
it
hated
Could have
them,
been a
but
big fuzzy spider. What's not to love about that?
a tall, not a big. He's
And
very
this
thin.
long limbs, and just reaching players, and
I think he also goes by KD Trey 5, but he's 7 now. Like he goes by.
Should have stuck with the spider nickname.
That's the name of his shoe. I know there's the KD Trey 5. That's a shoe of his.
Right, but now he's gone away. Now he's number 7. Anyways, make sure you watch the CHGO Bulls pregame show today, starting at 6 o'clock as the Bulls take on the Heat. We got our guys Big Dave, Matt Peck, Will the Goat Gottlieb, going to be in studio live for pre and post game. Should be fun. No Zach LaVine, but we'll have fun watching.
Boom, 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 boom.
we got Io, though. That
Right.
8 points is easy. That over 8 is in. I'm betting it right now on DraftKings.
There you go. And I got a same game parlay. IO over 8.5. Pat Will 1+ block. Heat -6.5. Plus 550. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Again, it is the top-rated sportsbook app, and use code CHGO when you sign up. That's Vinnie Duber. Make sure you check him out at Vinnie Duber on Twitter, and check out his latest article at allchgo.com. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson, the host of the CHGO White Sox podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Herb, I hate to let you know that the Phillies are up 4-2.
I did see that. 2 solo shots, though, by Drury and Bell after they were down 4-0. Now it's only 4-2. We're good.
Hey, Kyle Schwarber with another 101-mile-per-hour hit. So let's go, baby.
Blake Snell's out there struggling.
World Series champion again. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We got more grades. It should be a fun day. We'll talk to you then. Go Sox.